Alright, comic book friends, I'm back with the second half of Monster Comics Reviews. And we're talking about books that came out for April 17th. Gonna jump right in with my second half with the JSA Liberty Files, The Whistling Skull, number 5 of 6. Absolutely love the art in this. Tony Harris's art, it's rich. It's got all these little details. There's lots of little things. You can take tons of time looking at the pictures, you know, down to like people's walking canes having interesting things written on them and stuff like that. That is awesome. You're getting bits and pieces of character information and stuff, but it also really does feel like maybe, I mean, they escape a bad thing in this, but it also feels like that nothing's happening too. I don't know. There's one issue left, and I keep thinking, how is this all going to play out to one issue? You got this stuff going on in Japan with Nigel's father. Nigel's kind of the strong man simpleton that teams up with the Whistling Skull in this, called Knuckles. So how is that all going to tie together in one issue? I'm just not sure. And so maybe that's what's bothering me about this issue. In fact, this issue 5, issue 6 is next, and I just don't see how it can all place together in that kind of time. I don't know. Maybe I need to reread this and try not to think about the fact it's issue 5. There's some great stuff in there. Nigel, the Knuckles is wrapped up in these giant snakes from the snake lady of this crazy Nazi secret science circus that's attacking them, and he freaks out and tears the snakes apart, and just there's some really great stuff in it. I just can't envision how this is the last issue though. So, or not the last issue, second to the last issue. But at any rate, I really enjoy it. It'll make a decent trade if you haven't been picking it up. If you are picking it up and reading it, what do you think of it? Is it working for you? Do you think we got one issue? Do you think it's going to square itself up in one issue, or just have a ton of stuff hanging out there? What do you think? Justice League, issue 19. The other half of this gatefold is Batman hanging onto some kryptonite or something like that, I believe. I really enjoyed this issue. This is actually a really good issue. You get Superman and Wonder Woman. There's a hostage situation in Kandahar. Kandahar is a country that has not had foreign people on their soil for 20 plus odd years. So nobody's really helping this hostage situation. Superman and Wonder Woman go undercover, beat up the hostages, and save everybody. I mean, beat up the hostages, but beat up the bad guys and save everybody. But it starts a potential international scandal because people kind of view the Justice League as being more of an American-type team, even though they're not. Batman shows up and has a conversation with them. And it's the first time that Jeff Johns shows us these people as actually being friends with each other, as actually like that they maybe talk to each other outside of their whatever the chaos is that's going on at the time, whatever big monster it is that they're fighting. There's actually a sense of knowing each other. You know, Bruce shows up, Batman shows up and goes, "Hey, look guys, I know you're a couple. Pretty soon everybody else is going to know a couple if they haven't figured it out for themselves. That's fine, whatever. You know, as long as it's not going to affect the team. Great, I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you found somebody. I'm happy that you guys have both found somebody, because obviously that's a hard thing to do with the kinds of jobs and careers and lives that they live." And he also says that, hey, look, I mean, I know you guys. I know what you guys stand for, and so you going into this country and freeing these people is just simply that. It doesn't mean anything. But from the outside world, what are the motivations of you going into a foreign country that you're told not to go into and doing this stuff? I mean, are you making potentially godlike choices, powerful choices that are going to frighten people? Don't mess up what the Justice League has. Don't put us in a precarious situation. It was a really good piece in that. The other thing that goes on in this is part of the WTF. Somebody somehow breaks into the Batcave, knocks out Red Hood and Alfred, and breaks into Batman's secret stash of secret weapons to deal with all of the people that he deals with. You know, the whole thing that everybody talks about. You know, the Batman's got these, piece of kryptonite to beat up Superman or whatever other things to use against everybody, because Batman has a plan, a contingency plan to deal with every other superpowered being that exists. And somebody steals the kryptonite. So what's that going to mean? Interesting building up to the Trinity War that's going to be coming in a couple months. But really much better. I was really happy with this issue. Last issue wasn't bad either. Really happy with this issue as far as the whole giving these people character to actually mean something, to give us a reason in this book to give a rat's ass about any of these characters. And it did do that. It did do that, so happy with that. Red Hood and the Outlaws. New creative team on the book, so the voices changed a little bit. Actually, to tell you the truth, I really enjoyed this book right up to the last moment. And then the last moments, I kind of went, oh, shit. It focuses more on Roy and Corey trying to find Jason. He's lost out in the Himalayas somewhere. He's abandoned them. They know he's in bad shape because of the whole death of the family thing was a pretty rough event, and because Red Hood Jason got his face burnt by the Joker, also because he had this nasty stuff inside of his helmet and lots of stuff like that. So they go on this pretty vicious march. Roy's using some of the training that he heard Jason talk about, and just being incredibly stubborn, manages to find their way back into Jason Todd's the All Cast, where the All Cast hideout at, and his adventure to get there. I really liked all that because I really like Roy. I like Roy more and more all the time, because I really think the writers spend a lot of time giving him character, making him somebody, making him believe in something, care about something, so it makes us believe and care about the stuff too. All great and fine. Till you get to the very end of the book, and they do find Jason, and dun dun dun, Jason does not remember them at all, because all of his memories have been taken. Okay, so John DaCosta DC Comics is like, oh my God, they're doing I can't remember what I call it, and because he used it too. They're burning it down. He feels like they're burning the whole character and everything down and going to restart him with this new writer. They're going to restart him. They flushed all those memories, so he doesn't have any of the bad memories that he doesn't want, and so now they can make him into whatever kind of character they want to. I'm not sure they're really going to do that. I mean, obviously he doesn't have the memories now, but that pretty much makes the character meaningless. Not only is he a clean slate, you've got nothing to write with. There's no interest in him if he has nothing. He has nothing if he doesn't have some of those memories. So whether or not he will always not have those memories, or they'll get those memories back for him and stuff, I think they're going to get the memories back. I just can't imagine going forward with him not remembering anything. So I'll be curious to see what happens. Like I said, I actually really enjoyed this issue right up until that, oh no, his memories have been stolen, and this sense of, uh-oh. I mean, if they do that, if they really do a, burn the whole thing to the ground and start all over again, that'll be a shame. And unless it's really, really good and really, really interesting, I'll definitely be done with the book. But I'm gonna read it, see what happens, because like I said, I actually kind of enjoyed this story, because I'm really liking Arsenal, and I think he did a good job keeping the voice of Arsenal, and even keeping the voice with Starfire Corey there. So there's that. Okay, look at that. Isn't that an awesome cover? This is the cover to The Shadow, Year 1. This is a Chris Samney cover. It's cover number C. I love it. But this story and this book, I skimmed through it. This is issue 2 of like 8. And this is probably the last issue I'm getting. Maybe I'm getting issue 3. Well, I wasn't really excited with the first one. I mean, I'm kind of interested in the origin of the Shadow, but I don't need it. So I wasn't sure what I was going to think of this. I do not like the art in this. The art in it is very plain and static for me. It's one of those things I've talked about, like with the artist Phil Noto too. Phil Noto's pictures are pretty, but they're just single pictures. There doesn't seem to be any flow, any movement, any life to them. This, for me, this art really suffers from that. It just feels very static and dissatisfying and hard for me to read. And some of the lines that get delivered in this too feel a little heavy-handed, which kind of surprises me. I don't feel like Wagner is a really heavy-handed writer, but in this case it feels that way. So like I said, I skimmed this. I'm not going to say a whole lot more about it. That cover right there, though, is absolutely super sexy as far as just being an awesome freaking Shadow stretched out cover is cool. But that's all I'm going to say about that. It just wasn't real happy, and don't plan on reading the rest of it. Supergirl, issue 19. Key issue, if you care about stuff like this. It's the first time in the new DC universe, the new 52, that Power Girl puts on her old costume. And you know what? I missed that old costume. I know people have issues with the boob window, but that costume is so much better than her costume. Really curious as to the fact that she shows up in it first in this issue. Of course, it's given to her by Supergirl's Sanctuary. I actually really enjoyed this. The idea of these two Kiras hanging out together is really a fascinating and cool idea. I dig it. I'm not sure exactly what Lex Luthor plan is. I do have problems with the issue because, of course, it's still coming out of the effects of the Hell on Earth, which I did not read the spin-off to. So, of course, Supergirl is still suffering from her kryptonite poisoning and stuff, but which we don't really understand because they don't explain that to us. I'm opening it up here. There it is. There she is in her Power Girl costume, and I love Ahmad Assur's art continues to just be awesome. If he's on this book, I'll dig Power Girl too, but of course Power Girl's not going to stay in the book. But yeah, I like it. I thought it was cool. Supergirl was one of those comics I just really dig. I like the dynamic art. I like the voice. Next issue, I believe next issue, or the issue after this, is when the writer changes. I believe the artist is staying on board. I hope. But yeah, it'll be cool. It's just a fun comic. It's a fun comic. I look forward to the new writer so we can start some new storylines, get away from this Hell on Earth stuff, which I don't understand. But I do dig the idea. I do dig the two Kiras together. That was fun. That was fun. Sort of Sorcery. Amethyst number 7. Eclipso's taking over everything. We're in fast-paced mode now because this book is coming up to an end. So some of the more subtle, political motivations and machinations that were going on in the book have kind of slipped by the wayside and have all hurried up. Everybody's pulling swords now and going after each other, as opposed to what we would have gotten, I think, for a story if this had been allowed to go on. So they're going to use Eclipso as a way to him invading. This is where Eclipso is originally from. Eclipso is of House Diamond and House Onyx. He's a rare child that was born between the two, which is what gives him his powers in the Black Diamond. But he is going to use his powers to basically pummel the crap out of everybody. And I think that's how this whole series is going to end up ending, as opposed to being sort of a interesting political kind of a drama, along with our character still being a teen and all the stuff that comes along with that. Now it's going to be pull out swords, go to war, bash, 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 so then we can end this on some note, in some semblance of who's in control of what. I don't know. Can't guess as to exactly how that's going to end. but I'm sure that that's how this is going to end, and I doubt that that's how this would have ended. It just people pulling swords and going to town with magic and swords and bloodshed to end it. But because of the timeline and the time frame, because it's being canceled, that's what's going to become of it, which I think is unfortunate. Still a gorgeous book. I like Christine Marks' writing on this. She feels like she's got a really good grasp of what she's doing, what she wants to do here, whereas in the Birds of Prey, which I talked about in the last video, I don't know that she does yet. And, of course, Aaron Lopresti does beautiful art with this kind of stuff. I think it's... I mean, when he did Wonder Woman, it was absolutely great. I just think this really matches up well with his style. The tapestries and the flowing hair and all that kind of stuff just really works for him. So that was great. Backup story in this had the Stalker in it. Once again, this issue was a little bit better as far as story goes, but still relatively forgettable. I'll continue to say that surprises me of Mark Andrecchio. I think that Mark normally writes some really interesting and cool stuff, but this was kind of... I don't know, there was not a lot in that for me, and that really made me interested. And finally this time, Wonder Woman issue 19. This is the starting of a new storyline, basically, of sorts. This book is still so rock solid and a rock star of a book. It's just, I mean, I love it. I love all the little stuff that's going on, the way these gods are working out and whatnot. They're over the top, but they're not so over the top that you don't understand them. You don't understand their motivations, what they got going on. This is becoming a more and more of a political thriller. I love the fact that in this, War comments on the fact that, look at these people. You've got Hera, who's no longer a god. You've got Zola, who is the mother of Zeus's latest baby, and Zeus's baby, who they're trying to name, and you've got Orion, and you've got Lennox, you got all these people, this crazy group of people that there's no reason any of these people should be getting along, but somehow they are. And War points out that, that's a sign of you being a great leader, is the fact that you've somehow made these people function together. There's a great scene in here where they're trying to name the baby, which is absolutely awesome. As much as I despise Hera lots of times, I absolutely loved her in this. It was a great moment of her holding the baby and going, oh, this ugly, and the baby's got these beautiful blue eyes and the goo-goo face, and she's like, oh, it's a baby. How can you not like the baby? Of course, this cover has this half where she's getting ready to punch him, and the other half she's kissing him. There's actually a great scene there, because he continues to kind of badger her and basically kind of making these, he calls her legs, and is making these kind of not very subtle innuendo, rude kind of things to her, and Wonder Woman, the way she handles it is really awesome in this one. She basically gives him a huge kiss, which I know people saw the covers and went, oh my god, Wonder Woman potentially is a slut, she's just kissing everybody, she's kissing Superman, she's kissing Orion, she's kissing whatever. No, she does it for a reason in this. Kind of shuts him up, along with, getting him by the, and telling him how it's going to be. And he still has a smart-ass comment, and she decks him at the end, and I don't know if you can see it, his face there, ooh, glare, how his face looks kind of cracked, and his eyebrows are looking on fire-ish, kind of looking and whatnot. Yeah, if he loses it and becomes a rage monster, I think he's more than just a guy who's pissed off. I think he physically exhibits structurally some of that, which is really interesting. He leaves. He storms off. And it looks like Poseidon and Hades are trying to cover their own asses, and in the process of doing that, they send the firstborn out to get the to do two things. Get rid of Apollo, because Apollo is the god in charge, and to deal with the lastborn, which is part of the prophecy. The lastborn is going to be the one that's responsible for the death of the leader, or the death of the gods. So they get a political game going where it's basically the firstborn versus the lastborn is what's going to happen. And Hades and Poseidon put a bet on who they think is going to win. Poseidon bets on Apollo, I think, and that Apollo is going to ultimately win out. And Hades bets on Wonder Woman. bets on the Amazon that she's going to win now. It's a great story. I hope Brian Arezzo never steps off this thing. Art is somewhat inconsistent in this. I mean, Cliff Chiang keeps doing the covers, but we don't see Cliff Chiang doing anything else. So I hope at some point we get Cliff Chiang back in the book, rocking it, because I really do enjoy his work and stuff. The art that's in it isn't bad, but it's serviceable, tells the story well. They're still great characters, and like I said, I hope Brian Arezzo stays on the book for a very long time. It's one of the few DC books that really feels like it really honestly has its own voice and is telling its own story. And yeah, because that's few and far between both the big two comic book companies, really, really makes me enjoy it a lot. It's great. Anyway, that's it for this week. I will see you next week for more of the same. Let me know if this is getting boring. If you don't want to hear me talk about my books, or you only hear me talk about certain books, or I should change this all together. My title is Monster Comic Reviews. I don't really feel like I review the book per se, because I just kind of want to talk about them and whatnot. You know, who knows? The rest of my comic book reading family may get caught up on books, and maybe we'll have some discussions with them about some of these later on. And it won't just be me talking about them. If you read some of these books and you want to talk about them with me, you want to talk about them on camera so we can talk about them, get a hold of me. I'll see if I can work something out to where we can do a hangout together maybe, or whatever, to talk about the books. Or if you don't want to do a video that everybody else sees and you just want to BS about the books, hit me up. I'll try to get there. I know I say that and then I end up not taking people's invites, but you know how it is. Life sometimes gets in the way of what else we have going on. Heck, even if you're camera shy and don't want to be on camera, we can talk or whatever. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying your books. I'm really getting a kick out of mine. There's a lot of great stuff out there. I think there's a lot of good books. As much as some things is kind of a Debbie Downer kind of a deal right now, there's some really great stuff going on too. So excited about that. See you, everybody.